Our evening was settling into a familiar routine. The clatter of forks, the warm glow of the table lamp, the comforting scent of roasted potatoes filling the air. Marcus and I were savoring the last bites of my salmon creation when his phone buzzed, shattering the peaceful scene. He peeked at the screen, his brow furrowing instantly. "Who's that?" I inquired, a sliver of unease creeping into my voice. "Selena," he muttered, his tone laced with a sudden gravity. The tranquility of the meal shattered with a discordant buzz. Marcus' phone vibrated, pulling him from the warm glow of our shared dinner. A flicker of worry crossed his face as he glanced at the screen. "Who is it?" I asked, sensing a sudden shift in the atmosphere. "Selena," he muttered, his voice heavy with apprehension. Selena, his estranged 19-year-old daughter from his first marriage, a name unspoken between us for years. My stomach lurched. This couldn't be good news. Marcus answered the call, his brow furrowing as he listened intently. After a curt exchange, he hung up with a heavy sigh. "What's wrong?" I inquired, bracing myself for the inevitable. "She's moving in," he announced. "Her roommate kicked her out, so she's driving here tomorrow." My fork clattered onto the plate, my appetite vanishing. "Here? For how long?" His response was vague. She didn't say, but it sounded permanent. Panic clawed at my throat. We'd meticulously built a haven of stability, a refuge from the chaos of our own fractured pasts. Years of therapy had painstakingly healed the wounds of broken families and shattered trust. The last thing we needed was a volatile teenager potentially reopening those raw scars. "Can her mother take her in?" I pleaded, but Marcus simply shook his head. The divorce was brutal. They haven't spoken since. Just then, the front door creaked open. Our son, Eli, walked in, his hair damp with sweat from basketball practice. He picked up on the tense energy immediately. "Everything okay?" he asked, his perceptive nature evident. Marcus offered a strained smile. "We just heard from your sister, Selena. She'll be staying with us for a while." Eli's eyes widened in surprise. His knowledge of Selena stemmed from the occasional bitter anecdote Marcus shared over the years. "Oh," he said hesitantly. "How long is she staying?" "We're not sure yet," Marcus admitted. An uncomfortable silence descended upon the room. I could practically hear Eli's unspoken concerns. Selena's arrival would undoubtedly disrupt the equilibrium he cherished, yet his kind heart wouldn't allow him to voice them. I squeezed his hand reassuringly before turning to Marcus, my voice firm with resolve. "Ground rules," I declared, "no freeloading. If she wants to stay under our roof, she'll contribute. A job. Responsibility." Marcus nodded in agreement. "Absolutely. We'll make that clear when she arrives." As we cleared the dinner dishes, a dark premonition settled in my gut. The past has a way of creeping back in, no matter how tightly we try to seal the door. Dread gnawed at me as I woke up the next morning. Today was Selena's arrival. Marcus had prepped the tiny guest room, but I knew its limitations wouldn't appease her. Breakfast became a pep talk for Eli. "Relax," Marcus reassured him. "Selena's probably matured since we last saw her. Just be welcoming." Eli nodded, but his forced smile mirrored my own apprehension. A car's rumble around noon sent a jolt through me. "Must be her," Marcus announced. We approached the door with trepidation. A blonde emerged from a battered hatchback overflowing with clothes and boxes. Gone was the scrawny, sullen 13-year-old from the divorce battles. This Selena was tall, striking, adorned in trendy clothes and flawless makeup. Yet a hollowness lurked behind her bright smile. Marcus offered an awkward hug. "Welcome home, Selena." "Thanks, Dad," she chirped sweetly, despite years of radio silence. "So good to see you again." The next hour was a ballet of overflowing boxes and territorial pronouncements. Selena filled the cramped guest room, fiercely rejecting Marcus' attempts to help with a barked, "Don't touch my stuff." So much for maturity. Dinner was a performance by Selena. She regaled us with tales of her life, punctuated by veiled barbs aimed at me. Still a nurse, huh, Lena? Don't you crave something more exciting? I swallowed the retort. Nursing was my calling, but Selena clearly saw it as pedestrian. Then Eli shared his excitement about college scholarships, only to be met with a harsh laugh from Selena. Good luck affording a decent school, sweetie. Eli's cheeks flushed. I knew how diligently he'd worked, balancing top grades with athletic achievements to secure those scholarships. Dinner concluded, leaving a sour taste in my mouth. I cornered Marcus. Selena needs boundaries. I insisted. This entitled act has to stop. He sighed in defeat. You're right. I'll talk to her. But the days that followed were a frustrating repeat. Selena's rudeness blossomed, and any semblance of contributing to the household remained a distant dream. My patience frayed at the edges, threatening to snap completely. Then came the tipping point. Exhausted from work, I swung open the front door to find Eli, his face drained of color, slumped on the couch. What happened? I rushed to his side. His voice trembled as he revealed. She took my laptop and my money jar. The one with over $500 from my job is empty. Fury ignited within me. That money represented Eli's dedication, years of sweat and sacrifice. When Selena sashayed in, a picture of nonchalance, I confronted her head-on. Return Eli's laptop and his money. Immediately, she smirked, a challenge glinting in her eyes. Or what? You'll banish me. Every fiber of my being wanted to wipe that smug look off her face, but violence wouldn't solve this. Selena was a toxic presence, eroding everything she touched. Protecting my family, even if it meant severing ties with Marcus's daughter, became my unwavering resolve. The decision was made. Selena had to go. Her behavior is tearing us apart, Marcus, I declared when he returned home. She stole from her own brother after we welcomed her with open arms. I can't allow this to continue. She needs to leave. Today, pain flickered across his face. I understand Selena's wrongs, but she's still my daughter. If we kick her out now, she'll be homeless. Do we just stand by while she keeps stealing from us? I cried, frustration bubbling over. Marcus, she's manipulating you. Can't you see that? Give me a chance to talk to her. Lay down some ground rules. Maybe with boundaries, Selena can change. I shook my head, defeated. Marcus's guilt as a father clouded his judgment, and I had to choose my battles carefully to safeguard our marriage. One week, I conceded, my voice firm. If there's no significant improvement in her behavior within a week, she's out. Marcus offered a reluctant nod, my only hope, minimizing the damage before things spiraled further. But the following days were a descent into chaos. Selena transformed into a nocturnal creature, returning home at dawn and sleeping well past noon. My jewelry collection dwindled, each piece borrowed with a wink. Demanding she find a job elicited a haughty scoff. Why bother working when daddy provides free room and board? One evening, I walked in to find her smoking on the couch, a plume of smoke curling towards the ceiling. My voice, laced with anger, demanded she take it outside. Her response, a defiant puff of smoke blown directly in my face. You're not my mother, she sneered. Don't tell me what to do. Disgust churned in my stomach. The depth of her manipulation became horrifyingly clear. She played a sweet, innocent act for Marcus while expertly pushing my buttons. The final straw arrived in the form of a call from my credit card company. A suspicious purchase of over $2,000 from a fancy LA clothing store. It didn't take a genius to figure out who the culprit was. In a single week, Selena had racked up more debt than Eli, and I spent on groceries in a month. Marcus walked in, his face etched with worry. Rage boiled within me, spilling over in a torrent of words. Your daughter is tearing us apart. She needs to be out of this house tonight. Marcus looked like a man burdened by a heavy weight. You're right, he conceded, defeat lacing his voice. I clung to the hope that Selena could change, but she's clearly spiraling. It's us or her, Marcus. Choose wisely. He pulled me into a tight embrace. There's no choice, love. You and Ely come first. I just pray we can weather this storm without our family fracturing. With a heavy heart, we sat Selena down. Marcus delivered the news. She had to leave immediately. Predictably, she erupted, a whirlwind of insults and accusations. I remained silent, letting Marcus navigate the fallout with his troubled daughter. As Selena stormed off to pack her bags, Marcus buried his head in his hands. I'm so sorry for bringing this chaos into our lives, he confessed. You and Ely are all that matter. We'll get through Selena's toxicity, however long it takes. I squeezed his hand, his words a much-needed lifeline. Together, we would overcome this. Selena's manipulative schemes wouldn't fracture the foundation of our family. The following weeks were a tense tightrope walk. Marcus made several attempts to reach Selena by phone, but she wouldn't answer. I knew guilt gnawed at him, a constant reminder of her troubled path. Words of reassurance tumbled from my lips. We'd made the right decision. Selena was a destructive force, leaving a trail of wreckage in her wake. We changed the locks and reported my stolen credit card. Thankfully, the bank's fraud department understood the situation and reversed the bogus charges. A semblance of normalcy began to creep back into our lives. Then a letter shattered the fragile peace we'd cobbled together. It arrived from a bank I'd never heard of, thanking me for opening a new credit account. The air left my lungs as I scanned the attached documents. Someone had used my identity to secure a personal loan, a staggering $155,000 deposited into an unknown account. Panic and fury clawed at me. This kind of debt could cripple us financially, and I'd only had one suspect, someone capable of such a despicable act. Marcus walked in, and I shoved the letter in his face. Your daughter is trying to ruin us. We need to call the police. His eyes widened in horror as he devoured the contents of the letter. My God, I knew Selena was troubled, but full-blown identity theft. He sank into a chair, defeated. This is all my fault. I failed her as a father. A flicker of sympathy replaced my anger. As much as Selena enraged me, this betrayal cut far deeper for Marcus. Sitting beside him, I offered words of comfort. You did everything you could, given the circumstances. Some people are simply beyond redemption. But now, our focus has to shift to protecting ourselves and Ely. Will you call the police about the fraud? Marcus let out a heavy sigh, but a resolute nod followed. You're right, he conceded. No matter how painful, I have to do the right thing. An hour bled into an eternity as we reported Selena's crime to the police and bank. The cheerful little girl from Marcus's wedding photos seemed a lifetime ago, replaced by this callous criminal. The bank investigators' words sent a shiver down my spine. The loan originated locally, meaning Selena lurked closer than comfort. Later, nestled in bed, I turned to Marcus. That loan will be revoked. They clearly see we're the victims. I pray you're right, he murmured, the weight of the situation evident. If not, this could cripple us financially. We could even lose the house. The unspoken fear hung heavy in the air. Selena wasn't content with tarnishing Marcus's memories. She wanted to destroy his new life. Cost be damned. As sleep finally claimed me, a silent vow formed. Selena's machinations wouldn't break us. Good would triumph over her schemes. But a new, icy anger simmered within me. If she dared threaten my family again, I would become an immovable wall. Determined to stop her, weeks crawled by, devoid of news from Selena. The bank's investigation into the loan offered a temporary reprieve. The police, however, found Selena's last apartment empty. She vanished like a ghost. Marcus spent countless hours scouring online records, but this con artist knew how to disappear. Then a sunny Saturday took a dark turn. Marcus was away at a conference, so Eli and I decided on a movie afternoon. But upon returning home, an unsettling feeling washed over me. The ajar front door screamed intrusion. My heart hammered against my ribs as I pushed inside, Eli trailing close but staying in the hallway for safety. If Selena was here, I wouldn't let her hurt him. Cautiously, I moved forward, peering into the shadowed rooms. Relief flickered momentarily, no signs of a struggle. Then I reached Eli's room. Chaos reigned supreme. Drawers gaped open, the mattress laid on its side, and clothes spilled from the ransacked closet. Eli burst in beside me, a cry escaping his lips. In the center of the bed lay taunting proof, a note scrawled with a cruel message. College fund gone. Oops, better start buzzing tables. Loser Brothers' red spot swam before my eyes. My vision blurred, the red a reflection of the fury coursing through me. The college fund, a testament to years of sacrifice for Eli's future. Nearly $2,000 vanished, stolen by a stranger who called him a loser brother, as Sister Eli barely knew. A choked sob shattered the silence. Tears welled up in Eli's eyes, reflecting the devastation etched on his young face. All that money, gone, he whispered. I held him close, my gentle, hard-working son, a victim of Selena's ruthless greed. We'll get through this, I vowed, but deep inside, a steely resolve hardened. Selena had stolen Eli's future, and I wouldn't let her get away with it. The sight that greeted Marcus upon his return shattered him. The violated sanctuary of our home and the stolen future from Eli's room were a brutal 1-2 punch. My normally composed husband mirrored my own fury, a raw, primal anger. Our savings were depleted, our security compromised, and our son, the innocent victim of a cruel taunt. Enough was enough. Selena's reign of destruction had to be stopped before she inflicted further pain on unsuspecting lives. Ignoring Marcus's pleas for caution, I furled my outrage into action. The next evening, I found myself parked outside a rundown motel rumored to be Selena's haven. Her beat-up hatchback, a beacon in the fading light, confirmed my suspicions. With pounding fists, I demanded entry until the door creaked open, revealing a smirking Selena. Look who decided to grace me with her presence, she drawled, a mocking lilt in her voice, here to lecture me on morality again. Before she could utter another word, I lashed out, the sting of a slap echoing in the stale air. You monstrous excuse for a human being, I roared. Weren't we enough of a target? Did you have to destroy everything? The smirk melted from her face, replaced by a venomous glare. You'll pay for that, she hissed, lunging at me in a fit of rage. A brief struggle ensued before I shoved her back, slamming the door shut on her contorted face. Shaken but resolute, I walked away. Today, I had taken a stand. I had offered Selena a chance, a path to redemption, but some individuals were simply consumed by darkness. Trying to save them risked becoming their latest victim. Selena was a malignant tumor, a creature devoid of empathy or compassion. Her removal from our lives, once and for all, was the only course of action left. The following weeks were a tense waiting game. On edge, I anticipated Selena's retaliation. Marcus, taking no chances, bolstered our home security. For Eli's safety, I even opted to temporarily homeschool him until the authorities apprehended Selena. However, with each passing day devoid of her presence, a sliver of hope blossomed. Perhaps she had finally grasped the consequences of her actions and fled the town. That fragile hope was shattered late one night by the piercing shriek of our fire alarms. A jolt of adrenaline surged through me as Marcus and I scrambled towards Eli's room. The sight that greeted us was a scene straight out of a nightmare. Thick smoke billowed from the room, flames dancing menacingly across one wall. Without hesitation, We grabbed Ely and sprinted outside, moments before the inferno fully engulfed his bedroom. As the firefighters battled the blaze, a sickening certainty curdled in my gut. This was no accident. Selena, in a final act of desperate revenge, had tried to burn our world down. The police investigation solidified my worst fears. Traces of gasoline, a disturbing amount meant to consume the entire house, were found along the exterior. A single horrifying thought echoed in my mind. A hair's breadth later, and Marcus, his face etched with worry, addressed the investigators. My daughter, Selena Rogers, is behind this. We have documented proof of her identity theft and burglary. This fire was just another attempt to inflict harm on us. The gravity of Selena's escalating crimes finally spurred the police into action. Security footage captured a figure resembling Selena speeding away from the house shortly before firefighters arrived. Arrest warrants were issued, and Selena's image, plastered across local media, depicted her as an armed and dangerous fugitive. Marcus, in a desperate plea, made a public statement, urging Selena to surrender, promising a fair trial despite her actions. But Selena vanished. Our lives transformed into a tense waiting game, a constant vigil for her next attack. Eli and I became prisoners in our own home, weapons and fire extinguishers within arm's reach. She'd already stolen so much. I wouldn't let her steal our peace of mind. Then, late one evening, my phone rang. It was the lead detective, his voice laced with urgency. Turn on the news. Selena Rogers has been apprehended. A collective gasp escaped all three of us as we switched on the TV. Breaking news displayed Selena in handcuffs, surrounded by stolen electronics and jewelry, the very items she'd pilfered from our home. Shouting obscenities at reporters, she was shoved into a police car. Selena's invincibility had blinded her, leading to a careless mistake and her capture. As the reporters detailed her crimes against her own family, the mask slipped, revealing the monster beneath the facade. A sliver of pity flickered within me, but it was quickly extinguished. That night, with Selena locked up and our home secured, we finally slept soundly. The coming weeks wouldn't be easy, picking up the pieces of Selena's destruction. But the storm had passed, its darkness lifted. A new day dawned, filled with the promise of a fresh start, free from the burden of her lies. The future stretched before us, ripe with possibilities. In the aftermath, normalcy slowly seeped back into our lives. Selena faced a multitude of felony charges. The suffocating weight of her actions finally lifted from our shoulders. Eli and I celebrated his belated birthday with feasts at his favorite restaurants. Marcus and I spent evenings reminiscing about happier times, a world before Selena's arrival. Plans were made to repair the fire damage and rebuild our depleted finances. Court dates loomed, a constant reminder of the pain Selena inflicted. Marcus wrestled with the turmoil of testifying against his estranged daughter. But I offered him strength, reminding him of the suffering she'd caused, a necessary reminder to ensure justice was served. A gut punch. Selena, locked up and awaiting trial, was involved in a violent fight with another inmate. Details were hazy, but the outcome was clear. Selena was gone. Marcus crumbled first, shutting himself away in our room, drowning in guilt. Eli, despite everything, carried a burden too. He'd lost a sister he never truly had. Weeks later, the truth about Selena's final days emerged, as disturbing as it was clarifying. The inmate claimed Selena had bragged about pulling the wool over our eyes, wishing she'd taken even more. These callous words slammed a final nail in my empathy's coffin. Remorse, not a trace. Her greed had collided with another predator, and both met their demise. Selena's absence unraveled her web. Bogus loans were revoked, a weight lifted from our shoulders. Police recovered some stolen money from her hideaways. The community, once unaware of her deceit, rallied. They'd known us for years, a loving couple, devoted parents. Now, they offered support, even raising funds for Eli's future. Their generosity was overwhelming. After suffocating under Selena's lies, this outpouring felt like a life raft. Marcus saw it too. We weren't alone. Kindness could overcome wickedness, especially when united. A glimmer of hope finally pierced the darkness. 1 year after Selena's passing, we made a single visit to her grave. A simple stone marked the spot. Marcus knelt and murmured a prayer, his voice barely a whisper. I stayed back with Eli, offering him the space he needed. Eli broke the silence, his voice a mere murmur. Do you think she could have been happy if she'd made different choices? I pulled him into a tight hug, the wisdom in his young mind both surprising and comforting. We all choose our paths, Eli, I whispered. Selena chose destruction, but life itself keeps moving. And now, we can walk in the light again. Marcus finally joined us, a hint of peace settling on his features. He took my hand, a gentle smile playing on his lips. Thank you for being my anchor, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Your love pulled me back from the brink. Together, we turned and walked towards the setting sun, leaving Selena's turbulent spirit behind. The future stretched before us, painted in shades of hope. Healing, however, was a slow and uneven journey. The fire damage was repaired, some stolen funds recovered, debts finally settled. We were reclaiming what Selena had tried to take away, piece by shattered piece. Yet some scars ran deeper than what the eye could see. Nightmares of flames engulfed me, ripping me from sleep. Marcus retreated into himself, burdened by a heavy cloak of guilt. And Eli, once so carefree, became a quieter version of himself, startled by sudden noises and clinging to the security of a locked door. It was then that I suggested family therapy. Marcus, initially resistant to the idea of needing help, eventually understood the importance of mending our fractured spirits. Our sessions were intense but cathartic. We grappled with the betrayal, the violation, the raw anger that simmered beneath the surface. The therapist equipped us with tools to manage the anxiety and lingering PTSD. He encouraged open communication, a vital aspect that had been sorely lacking during Marcus's introspective periods. The path to recovery wasn't linear. Underneath the surface, pain simmered. Unraveling Marcus's grief revealed a well of regret, a desperate attempt to mend his fractured relationship with Selena after their childhood separation. Our therapist, a beacon of understanding, reframed his actions as misguided love, not malice. This gentle nudge loosened the grip of shame. For Eli, normalcy became his sanctuary. He reconnected with school sports, volunteered at a shelter, and scooped ice cream at a local parlor. Giving back and immersing himself in positive routines became his shield against the lingering helplessness. 6 months later, with our therapist's green light, we closed the chapter on Selena's darkness. With the remaining recovered funds, we embarked on a Hawaiian adventure. Pristine beaches, delicious meals, and most importantly, laughter-filled moments of family togetherness. No tension, just pure joy. On the final night, under a fiery sunset, Marcus and I renewed our vows with Eli as our beaming officiant. As I looked at them, my heart swelled with pride. Selena had aimed to break us, but instead, we'd emerged forged anew. Scars might remain, but they were battle wounds worn with honor, not shame. Our family stood testament to that. Flying back, a cathartic journal entry flowed from my pen. Later, I shared it with Marcus and Eli. The past year held harrowing trials, but also profound growth. We clung closer now, wounds transformed into wisdom. Selena, a cruel knife, ripped open old wounds and inflicted new ones. But we were the sutures, mending the tears, weaving strength back into the fabric of our imperfect family. We wouldn't just survive, we would thrive. Back home, I tucked the journal away, A final relic of Selena's havoc. Court documents, financial records, police reports, all tossed into oblivion. Marcus held me tight. "It's truly over," he whispered. "Now, let's build something beautiful from the ashes." A smile stretched across my face. Pulling Ely in, I knew the storm had passed. The sun peeked through the clouds, illuminating our path forward. Together, hand in hand, we walked towards the light. Thanks for watching and being part of this storytelling adventure. Click the subscribe button to support our storytelling channel.